Khan, how do we know you'll keep your word?
Oh, I've given you no word to keep, Admiral. In my judgment, you simply have no alternative.
I see your point. Stand by to receive our transmission. So, lock phasers on target and await my command. Phasers locked.
Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes. Now, Mr. Spock.
Wow.
Sir, our shields are dropping.
Raise them!
I can't!
Where's the override? The override! Fire. Fire!
Wow.
Fire! Fire! We can't fire, sir! Why can't you? They've damaged the photon control and the warp drive. We must withdraw. No! No! We must!
Wow.
Enterprise, wait. She's not going anywhere.
Oh, wow. Oh, that low end.
I did nothing.
Well, bit of a small cheat here, because I got the gain levels up a little bit on the amplifiers for the bass cab. Didn't really use the EQ of the microphone because I knew where I made the adjustments last time. And I thought, well, okay, I'll just randomly put a filter in, around about, it's just random guessing, about 1.74 kilohertz. Widen the Q bandwidth out a bit, knock the frequency gain level down. Otherwise, the HF horn will sound too damn toppy. I want to get as little as much as, but it can only get so much of that because this is this is networking through the THX. I'll probably have to put thinking maybe wiring up the DCXs. No, not DCXs, DEQs that are racked in the kitchen. Maybe putting a output from the HF output from the THX and then connect into the DEQ and then back out from the DEQ back into the THX. So I'll kind of make a loop. So I only adjust the HF horns only. But overview, if I were to do that, I would have to then only make a adjustment only on the PEQs on the bass cabs on the using the
green-blooded inhuman.
Bridge to Admiral Kirk. Admiral, sensors indicate a vessel in our area, closing fast.
What do you make of her?
It's one of ours, Admiral.
so it's only the center LF. So I've got my
Try the emergency channels.
got the gain level up a little bit on the output, so it would be ahead
Picture, Mr.
of the input. Otherwise, I mentioned it before, otherwise the inputs start clipping. But still got sufficient bass, but the I'd have to make only adjustments because I reset these all, the PEQs all back to, or switched them off. Got a good bass low end up to a bass mid end, and nice feel. It's so all I'm doing is randomly just adding filters down here equally over to the LCR. Of course, I'll do the left extra, right extra later.
Let them eat static.
And all I added was just a little bit ABC booster in between, just to kind of where some frequencies are just, you know, kind of went down a little bit, maybe a little bit too much, just brought it up, but it's not too much, but because I'll fit it to the room size. But damn, almost had the fader up to about zero, but noticed that some of the high frequencies were just a little bit too toppy in certain parts of round. Probably, oh, I'd only have to put it through the direct on the THX and just look at the frequency response, where I think, oh, it's probably toppy around probably about 5 kilohertz range, so to speak. And it just needs to come down because it's just a little bit too raspy or sensitive on the ear, given the playback fader level.
They still haven't raised their shields. Raise ours.
So no sound interruption when switching there, because I'm running on the CP750.
Locking phasers on target.
They're locking phasers.
Ray shields.
Fire!
Wow. Plus I'm using just a little bit of audio limiting. But it can still hit 100 dB.
Trying, sir.
God, it feels like a bloody earthquake. An earthquake on a starship, you know, in a large vacuum where the dish is served very cold. It's way better than Into Darkness. Yeah, it's just you know, I mean, sometimes I think the EQ can be a little bit overused, or maybe underused, or maybe just, you know, I mean, the film's already been EQ'd, but on a large dubbing stage. So it's just where I want to put some filters, just where to get a nice smoothness so it doesn't sound too hot. So the 500 hertz round the 5 to 600, it won't sound too honky on the HF horn. You know, like honk, 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 like, you know, like pinching in there, honky, honky. You know, it's easy to just listen out for that sort of honky effect. I must say, I did have a very strange the other day, and I think I'm going to have to upgrade my analog output card on one of my STDS processors, because I had to switch the card around, because occasionally it kind of makes a kind of popping sound when switching the monitor here. I think it does, yeah, you can hear it in the background. So I switched the card around because I think it's something to do with this lead here connects to the headphone and monitor, and of course goes down onto this would be the kind of like a DAC, like a digital audio sort of like card, digital to analog output card. It could be capacitors, and all these capacitors, not a big deal, they're easy, common parts. There's not really any vital sort of parts unless it's up on this card here, which is where all the STDS digital decodering is. I'm not sure what this card is because I haven't got the service manual for it, but if I look around hard enough I'll probably come across one. But you know there's components here that are so common. Yeah, it's better. There's probably a few filtering things back there, I think, where my fingers point. Right at the back, that's probably some sort of filter thing. Typical few capacitors in there. Could possibly be one of the few capacitors, and most of these are like kind of output sort of like configuration sort of things, because these all sort of like say like this goes to the left, this goes to this channel output, etc, 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 and probably input as such, and maybe, I guess, but it's just probably a simple part, just change. It could be somewhere connected down this side of the circuit board. It could be something down there, or then it could connect over, around, and loop and do a back to front, upside down, turned around, and then ends up on it. Could be those capacitors back there. And if it's that, those are easy components to sort of like test and sort of get new components and just solder them in. Otherwise, the system's okay. It's just occasionally it does that sort of thing, and sometimes it doesn't. And I sort of thought, it can only be down to a sort of capacitor sort of issue. Yesterday, turned it on. I was do a morning sound check, like I would usually, because I've got cats around and they like doing things. So I always do a sound check, just make sure everything's a-okay. The last time I kind of heard it, and then I was noticing 1 kilohertz. That sounds a bit weird. Put it up on the RTA, and I thought, yeah, it not only sounds weird, it looks weird, because I was seeing a bundle of harmonic frequencies in front of 1 kilohertz and thinking, what the heck's going on here? In the B, thinking, what could be going on here in the B chain? Could it be the AVR, because that's the source for where the REM generator will be going into? And I started turning down the levels on the RTA, the output level on the sound generator, and I saw a minimum of the harmonics disappearing, and put it back up to normal low and think, that's not right. Have I got a wire crossed over or something? Have my cats been doing something? It took me 30 minutes to figure it out. I was thinking, could it be the THX sound system that's doing it? And I went through all the usual checks of, outputting the signal, mostly from there. And then I started outputting the other signal from the back surrounds, because if I use Dolby Atmos, I use this fader here. And then my back surrounds discrete would go down onto here. Tested the output on there of the sine wave, and it sounded normal. And I was thinking, well, it can only be the Sony. And then sort of thinking, okay, I think it's this card here. Unplugged it. Unplugged the cards and swapped the card around, plugged it back in, no problem. So it's obviously some components that are getting a little bit jaded, and they just simply need replacing, and that's all. Not a big deal, really. Unless there are some parts on there that are a bit of a big deal. I'll just have another look in there. Zoom in a little bit. So I think this little silver thing here, right there, I think that's some sort of EMI or something like, I don't know. I think it's a noise filter to sort of prevent noise from getting in or out or whatever. Oh yeah, some more capacitors there. These are other type capacitors, and here we go. So I think these are little relays here. There's bundles of these, and they're so common. Of course, some big capacitors back there. I think there's a heatsink module or such back there. I'm not sure what that thing right there is, right at the very back. I think it's another filter of a sort. Yeah, but there's some. It's easy. It's an easy repair. Some IC chips. And all these little things right at the very front here, they're to connecting onto a oscilloscope for testing. I might put it on the oscilloscope just to see if I can see anything funny. Otherwise, yeah, simple thing to check. Simple thing. Otherwise, the output of the sound is still okay on the surrounds. It's just when switching, it's causing a little kind of thump sound. Occasionally, when I did have it up there, I noticed it, and after about, say, like an hour or so after being switched on for a while, switching that, it's not thumping around on any other speaker. If I mute the sound, don't hear the thumping now. I'll mute it. Shouldn't do that. So, simple thing for me to fix. Even though it's a digital processor, which is can be very hard, but it's fortunate I've only got basic knowledge of electronics. Not full, but I've done electronic assembly during the 80s. So it's fortunate I've got a little bit of experience. So just kind of like when putting the CP200 together, that took months just to get this thing up and running. Getting new parts for the power supplies, because all the capacitors were failing and making a buzzing noise. So it's a series of noises filtering through to the outputs on the processor, which also got me thinking the other day about like how tinnitus is, because if you were to overdo or whatever a signal or whatever into a capacitor, it could possibly give it minor damage as such, or totally knacker it. And it got me thinking, because they usually occasionally produce a noise, which is common. And I was thinking, like, tinnitus is like the ear is like a capacitor. It got exposed to maybe a specific frequency that was played very loud, or a random of frequencies that happened to be playing at the time and was rather loud, and thus goes over the threshold, which is roughly 130 dB. And Sensorround was blimmin' powerful back in the 1970s. It was very powerful. Most people, you think you experience bass in your home theatre. Most people probably know what I'm talking about, and probably experienced Earthquake or Battlestar Galactica, maybe Midway. The only one that was kind of better was Earthquake. At least had 70mm 6-track Sensorround here in the UK, with 35 prints as well, whereas the US only had 35 prints. Parts of Europe also had 70 prints. So if you hadn't experienced Earthquake and 76-track Sensorround, damn, gives that sub-bass whole thing a whole new meaning. But was only so good, I think. And then THX come along, which was way better, or certification standards, way better up. The bar has been totally, utterly raised. But yeah, if you go over the threshold of, but there's no way of telling. Average could be 120 dB, and but anything approaching 100 and going over, you're asking for trouble. And you know, you can only, particularly if you notice if the frequencies sound all, you know, and that's been amplified at God knows what level. You know, you don't usually hear some of that on a day-to-day basis. You could go around with an RTA, looking around publicly, all the different noises, buses, traffic, everything, and seeing which ones. And then when you know what something, you know, you put your earplugs in, you know, because you can see everyone else wearing earplugs when they're drilling a road. And if they're not wearing ear defenders, they've already lost their hearing. And they're only making it worse until they go completely. I just get noise in my ears occasionally, like a hissing, and it's just like a capacitor that's, you know, exceeded a threshold of its tolerance level, and it's just failing occasionally, on and off, randomly, when it wants to. Replace it, and it'd be good as new. Isn't that right, Bear? No, he just rather lick his paws there. Yeah.